Welcome to part 5. This is the part where you will have now worked your colour work all the way to section 3 of the pattern, which is the back armhole shaping. The techniques for the armhole shaping, so casting off and decreasing, are the techniques, the only new techniques that you'll need now to work the whole rest of the back and the whole front as well. So let's start with, the row of casting off, the one that says next row. Cast off by working a slip stitch in each of the first 4, etc. stitches, including the stitch already on the hook. I'm going to cast off 4 just for this sample. You obviously cast off the number of stitches that you need for your size. So to sort of illustrate what the note says there, to make sure that you're casting off the right number of stitches, there was this thing in the bracket that says including the first stitch on the hook. So as I said in a different part, normally the first stitch on your hook is not included in the instructions until it is. And for casting off, we are going to need to cast off that first stitch there. That's why this stitch is included. So when it says to cast off the first, let's say 4 stitches, make sure that you sort of identify it's going to be the first one at the edge here. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those will be cast off, and therefore our first stitch of the row, the one that will be on the hook, should be above the 5th stitch there. So to cast off, you're casting your stitches off in pattern, so you're still working them as slips, as a simple stitches or slanted stitches as needed, and to cast them off it's just an extra slip stitch at the end. So my first stitch to work, I'm looking there and I've got 2 slanted, so this one needs to be a slanted stitch. So I'm going to work it as a regular slanted stitch. And when I pull up a loop, I also, in that same motion, I also go through the first loop on the hook. Keep, pull and keep that nice and loose. This is my first stitch cast off. I'm going to go and work the next stitch. This is also a slanted stitch. I've just cast off the first stitch there. So I work my slanted stitch. I pull up a loop and go through the loop on my hook again. And I make that nice and big, and that is 2 stitches cast off. My next stitch here is a simple stitch. So I work that as a simple stitch, pull up a loop, and in the same motion, you don't wrap the yarn around the hook again. In the same motion, you just go through the loop on your hook. That's now 3 stitches cast off. I need 1 more. My next stitch is a simple, so I work it as a simple, pull up a loop, and at the same time, go through the loop on your hook. And now I check, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches cast off. I can see that at the top. You can also, look with the, on the stitches of the previous row and check that first one here is cast off. Number 2 is cast off, 3 and 4. And my first stitch of this row now is actually above stitch number 5. That's how you know that you've cast off the right number of stitches at the start, and stitch number 1 should be right on top of the next stitch. It should not be included in the ones that you've cast off. So this is how you cast off the stitches at the start of the row. Now it tells me to pattern to the last 4 stitches for me, because I'll cast off the last 4. So again, keep in pattern. So for me, that's slanted. I need to work these as 2 slanted. So we're not casting off anymore, so you keep them on your hook now. So 2 slanted, 2 simple, got a slanted here, and I'd make sure you identify the last stitches that will need to be cast off. So I'm casting off the last 4, and that will include the end stitch. So So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've worked till here. I've got these 4 stitches here to cast off. Now to cast them off, it's a little bit like in knitting. When to start casting off, you knit 2, and the first stitch you knit the first stitch, knit the second, and in order to cast off the first stitch. It's going to be the same there. We're going to work these 2 so we can cast off the first one. So this one is a slanted. Again, we do it in pattern. So this stitch is a slanted stitch. So I'll work it as so. The next stitch is a simple. So I'll work that simple, put it through, and in the same motion, put it through the loop of the previous stitch to cast it off. We now have a gap, and this is now the last stitch of the row, and I've cast off the stitch in the middle. Now you do, at this end, you do get this stitch here, looks a bit, funny and doesn't look like it has been cast off, but it has. You only get this on the first stitch. So it's normal. You are going to get this vertical strand here only for the first stitch that you cast off. It's absolutely normal. This stitch has been cast off. And now we're going to keep casting off till the end. So my next stitch is simple. So I'm working it as a simple, and don't forget to cast it off like this. And my last stitch is also a simple, and I work into the twin bars at the end, work through both and cast it off. We now have 1, 2, 3 stitches cast off, and when you cut and fasten off that bit there, they'll have actually effectively cast off the last stitch there. So you will now cut your yarn and put it through to fasten off. I'm just going to do that as if to pretend I've cut my yarn. And this is what we have here, which is we've got 1, 2, 3, and that is the 4th. It's just that this one goes under the bar. Again, to check, make sure that those stitches here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are no longer part of the row. The row now ends at this stitch here. So make sure once you've done that cast off row, make sure you check that you count your stitches in between and check that you've got the right number of stitches, and then check whether you've cast off the right number of stitches at either end. You would then cut your yarns, because all your yarns are so far at this end, but now our row is going to end here. So you would cut your yarns and you take the next color that is relevant to you to carry on with the pattern. For me it's white, and you work your return pass starting here as usual, go through 1 and then go through 2 all the way to the end of the row. And on the next row we're going to decrease. So you now know how to cast off. The only other thing that you need to know is how to decrease. On your next row, it starts with TSS 2 tog, which stands for Tunisian simple stitch 2 together. Now we don't include the first stitch anymore in the instructions. It's still, it's just part of it's on the hook there. So we start with TSS 2 tog. It's a bit like knitting 2 stitches together. You simply go under both vertical bars there as if to work, your simple stitches, yarn around and go through both of them at the same time to pull up a loop. And this here, those 2 coming together there at the top, that's your TSS 2 tog. That's your decrease stitch. You would then pattern to the last 3, work a TSS 2 tog again, and your final stitch. This is how you decrease throughout the garment. We only use one type of decrease until the neckband. And to know whenever you're decreasing, to keep in pattern, to know what you need to do now. Again, you know how to read your work now. Cover this first row here and then have a look, and I can see here that this is a simple stitch, it's straight. This is a simple stitch, and this is also a simple stitch. I've already got 3 simple stitches on top of one another, so this one needs to be a slanted stitch. And this is how you keep the pattern correct as you decrease. Technically at the end of the row here you'd be doing a TSS2 tog to the end, but I just wanted to show you how you keep in pattern with your decreases. You can come back to this at any point, but this is how you cast off, and this here is how you decrease, and this is how you're going to finish. I'm going to show you. This is how you use it on the actual garment. You will be casting off here on that side, and this is the front, but you do the same for the back, and casting off at the end here. And you can see when you cast off at the end of the row, you get this, you know, this funky little bar that I was talking about. Just let that be. This is just how it is. We're not going to see it when we pick up those stitches. So you're going to cast off this same way. You can see here are decrease stitches, and again you keep, you know, you maintain the pattern correct throughout, because you decrease and then you look at what you need to work. That will keep you right. The front neck will also be worked with working the TSS 2 together near the end of the row, and on this side you will be doing your TSS 2 together on this, you know, at the start of the row, again keeping the pattern correct the whole time. When you get to the shoulders, they're both the same on the front and the back. You will do exactly what we've done for the armholes. On the right shoulder, you will be casting off by working slip stitches at the start of the row, and when you are on the left one, you will be casting off. You can see that's why we needed to cut. You will be casting off by working slip stitches at the end of the rows, just like we've done for the armholes. So yes, it does involve a little bit of cutting only when we work on that side, but we've only got 4 steps here, and we've only got 1 step on this side. So these are the only times when you're going to cut the ends of your rows. So you've got all of this is all you need now to complete both the front and the back. Then block it. When you come to the neck, you'll have a stitch on hold here, that center front stitch, and block your garment, have it ready, and then join me back in part 6 where we're going to join the shoulders and work the neckband.